All right, so we're going to be doing a fun recipe where we don't cook the ramen. This is one of the options for the ramen challenge. Ramen does not need to be cooked. It is, I think, already cooked and then hydrated. So we're going to be making a salad. That's one of my favorites. Just using a bag of coleslaw mix. This uses 2 packs of ramen. You could also just reduce the recipe and use the 1 pack of ramen. It also calls for sunflower seeds, which I have here. I didn't have a full cup of almonds. I'm all about improvising your recipes, and so I'm just going to use some almonds the almonds that I do have. It called for sliced, so I will be chopping them. It also calls for green onions or scallions. I don't have any of that, so I'm going to be using just a finely diced onion, and we'll talk a little bit about how to chop that later. And the last ingredient, you're going to make sort of a dressing with just vegetable oil, vinegar, and sugar. So pretty straightforward. So we're going to go ahead and start with the prep. I like to get sort of my base in first. So I'm just going to open up the salad mix. Throw that in my large bowl. You could also just slice cabbage if you wanted. That's probably cheaper. But if you're short on time, this is a good option. All right. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and chop the onions, or the almonds, and we're just going to kind of do a rocking motion with our knife, like so, back and forth, occasionally bring them back together. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just, again, keep rocking back and forth. Make sure you have that grasp around your knife like so. And then you're just using that tip as your fulcrum point and rocking back and forth. I'm happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and dust that off. I'm going to show you my favorite kitchen tool. It's what's considered a dough scraper. It's used for when you're making bread, but it's really good for when you're chopping. You just throw that. It helps you pick everything up quicker. Okay, now for the onion. When you cut an onion, and you're going to be doing a dice, and we're going to be doing a very small dice with this. I only need about 1/4 of the onion. So I already cut the onion in half. You're going to cut from the root to the top of the onion. And again, I only need a 1/4 of an onion, so I'm going to cut this in half again. Peel off the skin. Always have a little bowl around for your scraps. We can set this to the side. Now, I still have the root of the onion attached, and the reason I do that is it kind of acts as a way to hold the onion together while you chop. A little extra skin that wants to hang on. So we're going to trim the tip because there's still some of the brown of the onion there. And we're going to pinch the onion like so. We're going to first cut the long way, like that. Towards, but not all the way through the root end. Then we're going to hold down and we're going to basically pinch it like so, and we're going to cut down in long strips. I'm making a pretty small dice, so I'm cutting them pretty close together. And then we're going to go ahead and do our bear claw and rock down. Have that pinch of grasp there. Rock down. Oh, this onion skin doesn't want to leave. All right. And so that's a nice fine dice. Always kind of trim the ends off there. And then we're going to go ahead and use the dough scraper again. Throw that in the bowl. Whoa, made a mess. All right. Then we're going to use a cup of our sunflower seeds. 1 cup here. Throw that in the bowl. And there's everything in the bowl. We need a spoon to kind of mix it all together eventually. But the next step is that we are going to just have fun and crush our ramen right in the bag. And then we're going to open it up. Find the ramen packet. We don't need that for this recipe. Throw that in there. And do that again with the second bag. the longer this stays in the refrigerator, the ramen does soften, but it's still really tasty. But you are just it's going to add some nice crunch to that salad. So we're going to go ahead and add that in there. So that's pretty fun. So these out. If you're thrifty, you can save your packets and use them for something else when it calls for like a bouillon flavor. So we have that. We're just going to start slowly incorporating everything together. Set this aside again. So the next step is we need to make the dressing. And it's a very simple, you have the vegetable oil for the fat. The vinegar adds sort of acidity and flavor to it and depth. And the sugar adds the sweetness. It sort of balances out the acidity of the vinegar. I tend to use a little less sugar than what the recipe calls for, but you can totally do what you like to your taste. So it calls for 1/3 cup 3/4 cup vegetable oil. So measuring at eye level, I'm probably going to go more like 1/2 cup. I don't want to make as much dressing. So there's my vegetable oil. I'm going to put it in a large bowl because that's where we're going to mix everything. Calls for 1/3 cup of vinegar. A little bit over. Looks good. And then last but not least, it calls for 1/2 cup of sugar. Like I said, I'm probably going to go a little under on that. Sugar is very full. You could also find some recipes that may use honey instead as a sweetener. So it's probably a little more like 1/3 cup of sugar. I like to start with less, and if I feel like I need to add a little more, I can, but you don't need all that sugar. So you're just going to whisk all of those ingredients together. And it has kind of almost like a Jell-O before it sets kind of consistency. But it looks like the sugar is pretty well incorporated. So we're ready to add that. We're going to just bring our bowl back, pour the dressing on top. This is awesome to take as like a picnic, as a side for a dinner if you're doing something. It just has a ton of flavor. It's really good for a quick lunch. You could add a little like chicken to it, and it could be like an entire meal for you. But that is it. It takes like under 10 minutes to put together, and it's delicious. That is one option for ways to use ramen. Good luck.